Hi everyone, I want to talk about the VR's Wizard in Season 24 with the Ethereal items. So this is kind of like the one unexpected winner of this patch. It's not really the winner in the sense that it's gonna end up the strongest build in the game and it's gonna completely obliterate everything and become the meta. But out of all the builds in the game, this one will see probably the biggest change coming from the Ethereals because of the special effects and because of the extra power that lies within those weapons that you can't use with the regular Shantotto setup that VS usually plays. So what I'm talking about is that you can actually change the build completely. That is very unlike any other build in Season 24 with the Ethereals. Some builds change their setups a bit. You have something like the Oculus on the Wizard that gives you extra arcane power on crit, or you have something like J-Talon that gives you Spirit on crit, and there's like the possibility to roll a two-handed weapon power on a one-handed weapon. Yeah, there are some things like that, but here you actually change everything. So there is a build like this that has already been played in the past by Lulu. I don't know what season, it is long ago, 2-3 years or something, and he did, I think, a rank 1 even on non-season with a reverse Archon Veer Frozen Orb setup. Here I'm playing a Twister setup right now, but Frozen Orb you're gonna see in a moment. And both of the concepts are fairly similar. So instead of trying to deal damage inside of Archon, you deal damage outside of Archon. And this is something that has been used on the Wizard for the longest time. It has been the meta with the Bazooka, it has been the meta with solo Twister push these days with LOD. But with Veers, you generally don't really do that because of the Shantotto set. So here I'll show you an example planner. I can also find it in the description. And this is the Twister setup, and here's also the Frozen Orb setup. They are very similar, just changing the key items for those skills. And essentially you use Fazula and the Swarmy, just like in regular VR setup, to build stacks during Archon, and when you're out of Archon you will have one big COE rotation to deal a lot of damage in Arcane Cycle for Twister and then a Cold Cycle for Frozen Orb. And then you will transform back into Archon and attack as much as possible to get your VR stacks up. The interesting part here is that you can actually build the VR stacks over time, while usually you rely on kills to get more stacks when you play an LOD version of something like this. And this has never really been the meta for the VR's leaderboards, but now the Ethereals that can't be used with the Shantotto setup actually elevate those two setups above the regular Shantotto set. In fact, they're actually not that far behind when you think about it, because I was testing it on the PTR and I was going into a 132 here with not really big issues, kind of like keeping with the timer with a Twister setup, and I was not even playing this very well. So this was one of my first attempts here, just trying it out, and I was very squishy, 1800 paragons, no orcs, almost full non-ancient gear. So this is definitely better than what Shantotto offers. And since the Ethereals only buff those builds by roughly maybe 6-7 tiers or so, the Wizard Spike is quite useful because of the Bane of the Stricken effect of the 100% extra damage. So both of those builds have kind of an issue against the Rift Guardians, so this will actually feel really good next season because of this effect. And if you ever want to play this non-season again or after season 24, yeah, you will struggle with the boss, and it's probably going to be slightly weaker than Shantotto, but not by much. I would say that those setups here are a few tiers, maybe 3-4 tiers above Shantotto if you play them optimally, and then maybe 2-3 tiers behind without the season theme. So it's actually quite close if you ever wanted to do some reverse Archon VR stuff. It's a bit difficult to say if Twister or Frozen Orb is actually better. Right now I would say they are very close, and Frozen Orb is probably the more difficult one because you need a very precise positioning. There is no teleport in there, so you are kind of weak while outside of Archon. So you really have to get into the right spot, position yourself, cast a black hole, and then spam 5 Frozen Orbs a second into the pack, and they all should hit at exactly the right spot, so you get the double explosions from Unstable Scepter. So not exactly easy to play, probably one of the most difficult builds to push actually, I would say, because of the positioning requirement and the squishiness, but it does work, and it's not like you're constantly dying all the time if you have great positioning. It's definitely very fun and refreshing, so I wanted to highlight this because it is quite likely I will play Wizard myself next season because of the Firebirds meta again, and also I will gear up for this, I believe, and then either try one or even both of the versions here with the VS set for VS leaderboard push. I didn't actually complete a full run here, but I was just messing around, testing it out, and then making the planners. If you want to see a full run, there's a video link from Lulu in the description, who has actually succeeded with this build like long ago. He has, you know, pushed this to the maximum back then. So this is definitely worth a watch. So if you're playing Wizard, for example, for another season because of the Firebirds, like I do, then this could be a fun challenge for you to try to master one of these two builds, because they are very unique with how they work and how the timings are. And it feels really rewarding when you come out of Archon and you're like super powered from like 150 stacks or something, and you just smash everything with those frozen orbs. I think the top end potential of both of these builds lies somewhere beyond GR 140, maybe even all the way to like 145 or something like that. So there is definitely a lot of room for improvement here with like better gear, gems, augments, etc., and also just gameplay. So I'm quite excited to see what will actually happen in Season 24 with those builds. And that's already what I wanted to share here. I might make a more in-depth, detailed version as like a guide for this, to maybe highlight this for the future as well, because even without the season theme, you can actually play this pretty well, I would say. And it's not going to be the best, it's not going to beat Chantodo, I believe, but it can come quite close, as I said. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I'll see you guys next time.